I think visualizing what you want to do is so important. Like you have to always work towards it, even if you're not going to get it. If you're working towards it and you're putting yourself on that route, it's like there is going to be a time where an opportunity comes up and you can say yes because you've been prepared, and and it's all about, you need to see yourself doing that, and it does get you there.
On this week's episode of That Sound podcast, we have local drummer Jason Christy, who plays with the amazing Words That Burn.
Yeah, they have some amazing music, and it's great to have local musicians on here at such a high caliber of musician. I really, only recently, to be honest, in the last maybe year, got into their music, and man, I fucking love it.
It's absolutely class.
Yeah.
The work that the guys have put in, the professionalism, the standard of their tracks.
Definitely.
With every project, you can see the growth.
Yeah, you're going to enjoy this one. Strap yourself in.
Enjoy. On this week's episode of That Sound podcast, we have the drummer from Words That Burn, Jason Christy. Jason, very welcome to the show. Delighted to have you here in HQ.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for coming on.
Anytime.
So, you've been busy the last week or two there, Jason. I seen you were down in Cork there at the festival.
Yeah, down in Cork to celebrate our 1 year release of our latest album, Crow Culture. It's out a year now, so no better place than Cork to go down and have a bit of a bash, a Paddy's weekend bash too.
Yes.
It was a lively one.
Good metal scene down there.
Amazing metal scene, yeah. It's always one of our favourite places to go. It's you're always in for a good show or a good time at least.
Yeah. You were saying that the college is banging out like musicians, like there's just seems to be a lot of flow coming out of there at the minute.
Yeah, every time I go down there's some young group of kids coming out of college and, all in different renditions of bands and different members together. But yeah, it's some amazing bands like God Alone is a big standout one, or Red Sun Alert. Every time I go see them, they're so above and beyond, what you'd expect at their age and stuff. But
I think Ireland, in fairness, at the minute seems to be thriving in every direction. There seems to be bands popping up from everywhere, especially in the Cork region, maybe Limerick. Obviously Dublin, yourselves. Just, I don't know, what do you think, Luke?
I definitely think you're on to something there, Gavin. There's a lot of young bands coming back again. As you said, hard rock and metal's coming back.
Yeah, definitely.
Coming back big time, and it's great to see.
And there is a mix, and a lot of original music, which is good to see, like yourselves, obviously. Like, just, I remember like maybe 10 years ago, any band you see, it's just all cover.
Yeah.
You really had to dig deep to find original stuff.
To find original stuff, it was harder to maybe get gigs. I found, anyway, personally, when I was trying to play that original scene around 2016, 2017, and having played some really nice original gigs, then some of them would be few and far between, but maybe that was partly our own fault for not being fit to source them. But you guys have done a fabulous job, Jason, with sourcing original gigs over the last 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, I definitely, when I started out on the gig scene, it was you played mostly covers and then you dotted in one or two of your own tunes.
Yeah, bleed it in like.
Yeah, and but it was rare you'd have a band doing full original sets. And with Words That Burn, we always hint at the fact of maybe doing a cover here and there. Sometimes we end the set with a cover of like Deftones or stuff like that. You have to do it now and then, but we were always adamant on like, let's play our tunes, because we were always writing new songs, working on new stuff, and we were just excited to see how it went live, experiment with it. And but it's been amazing to do your own stuff all the time. The when you get to see a response of your own tunes,
it's gotta be an awesome feeling.
It's the best feeling in the world,
Yeah, it's gotta be. And was it Tolls you'd done a lot of stuff in, wasn't it, in Dundalk?
Tolls, yeah, we've played 2 or 3 shows there now. We played there this year anyway, and they've kind of renovated the venue now, so it's an amazing gig venue. They have I think it's called Lollapalooza. It's like a festival. Last year it was to help Save Our Homeless charity festival. We got to headline one of the nights there. Tolls is a great free venue. Back when I started gigging, like the Spirit Store was the big spot to go to. it's a little bit harder to play, it seems, nowadays, but it's great to see a smaller venue in town that's more accessible for local bands. We played there and there was acoustic acts opening up, there was cover bands, you know, there was rappers and stuff, and then us playing metal, you know, it's such a mixture, and it's acceptable in a place like that, you know.
Tolls are an absolutely brilliant venue for giving everyone a chance, which I think is fabulous. Anyone who has an interest in music or wants to showcase their talent will be given the opportunity to do so in Tolls.
We need venues like that, you know. That's how you know, give the bands a chance. That's without those venues, the bands would be nothing, you know, especially ones who want to try something original, or at least, you know, cut their teeth in what it's like to play live, you know. We really appreciate places like that, you know.
Do you remember some of the bars or clubs that you played your original stuff first?
Yeah, I got to start. My first ever show was in Carrickmacross with Words of Burn. Our first ever single, it's a long time back now, we shot the video in the dugout. We played a gig in the dugout, and that was the first, you know, time playing the original stuff there. And then my second ever gig was up in Fibbers, and Fibbers became like that's the spot in Dublin that you want to play as an up and coming band. And upstairs, downstairs, with the Metal to the Masses, you know, just getting in there with all the band scenes. And a lot of Dublin shows early in the days was the Gypsy Rose, used to be an amazing venue. It's not open anymore. And there was On the Rocks as well, was a great venue, you know, for metal gigs. And then, you know, starting going down to places like Limerick, playing Dolan's for Siege of Limerick, or the Bad Reputation gigs, you know. The metal scene down there is very good. And then Cork and Galway, you know, we started branching out and trying to find all these spots. A couple of good venues have come and gone, you know, over the years, unfortunately. But the ones like Fibbers, nowadays, the Grand Social's amazing. There's places popping up everywhere now. I'm seeing bands trying to put on shows.
So it all kicked off then in 2016 with your first album, yeah?
Yeah.
And it done very well.
In
the charts, in the iTunes charts in Ireland, #1.
It was a crazy experience. So I just came out of doing the Leaving Cert. We got signed to a record label at the time for that album, Wormhole Death. They were an Italian label, and they brought us out to Italy to an amazing studio. And we recorded our first album, spending a month in Italy as an 18-year-old, you know, recording an album in this, you know, phenomenal studio and playing this amazing drum kit and all this sort of stuff. It was my first step into like being an actual musician, you know, and I learned so much from that, because you don't know enough when you go in as a youngster and you haven't done, you know,
only out of school, like.
And this is like I didn't know how to record, and this guy showed me how to play the clicks and, you know, all that sort of stuff and what's better for the song. And we just started really taking off from there. With we got signed, we got back, we started getting shows, people started to like our music, and it's definitely with that album we found our sound. You know, we had this, you know, we've all such different music tastes. We're not all just metalheads, you know. We like instrumental music, like God Is an Astronaut. You know, we like, you know, dance music. You know, anything that's good music. We liked it, and so I find our songs are a good mixture of stuff.
Definitely, I was going to say that.
But we present it as a heavy metal sort of, you know, band. Definitely that energy, and so that was the big learning experience. And we came back, and it went down so well. Like it got into the charts, and you know, it was amazing seeing it sitting up there with like you know, Metallica had stuff up in the charts, and there was
Hardwired would have come out in 2016.
And there was like a Bruce Springsteen album, I think, was up in the charts too, and seeing it sitting up above those, albeit for, you know, a couple of hours or a few days.
Still, man, like a #1, you got the fucking #1 spot.
And how did that label find you guys?
It's just, I think we kind of found each other at the time. You know, you're looking around when you're, especially in those days, you're just trying to find who's in their field that can help us expand what we do. Like you want to play shows.
Yeah, absolutely.
You want your songs to get out there, and it's like at that point we were very young. We didn't know how to do it per se, you know. We could play shows, we could write the songs, but it's like we needed that next step. So just kind of reaching out, we ended up in conversations with them, and we made a deal, and we did that for that first album cycle. And we learned so much from that, and
amazing experience, like
amazing opportunities. Like we got we played a show in all around Europe with another label mate band, you know. So we played dates all from like Poland to Czech Republic, all over Budapest, everything. And it's a crazy experience being just in a van on the road for 10, 15
Living
hours a
it out,
day.
and
it was so mind-opening. So getting the experience of the recording studio, then the road experience, and how to kind of deal with it professionally. And then, so we brought that experience kind of into our second album, but we went independent then. So because I found we knew the tools, how to do it on our own, and with modern tech, social media on everything online.
It's so important now. It really is, isn't it?
You can really do a lot yourself. So we took that on for the second album, and we kind of had the same success again.
You had the 2 singles, isn't it, from the second album?
Rise, I think, was the first single.
And Riptide, wasn't it?
Yeah, Riptide.
Riptide's a banger.
Song,
To this day, Riptide's been the tune that's just always stood out. I think it
is the most streams on Spotify, isn't it?
It's 60,000+, I think, at this point.
But the sound of it, like you said, you can see by listening, you can hear by listening to that song your different influences between the synthesizers, and almost like the vocals is almost like I won't say indie, but like there is a lot going on. I feel there is anyway. I don't know if you feel it, Luke.
Yeah, no, for sure. I sometimes feel a lot of that like Deftones influence from time in the guitar playing, or those like real heavy smacking riffs, and then yourself locking in with that rhythm section is just like bulletproof, and those kick drums come through, man, you're just like so locked in.
Like Deftones is probably a good example. Like we because we have a lot of influence, we don't want to sound like something that's already been done. Obviously there's parts of it that sound like other bands. We're obviously taking influence from places, but like Deftones, Bring Me the Horizon, and even Slipknot, stuff like that. It's like we do it. We have metal tunes, but we also do stuff like you might say indie, but it could be poppy style.
It always reminds me of that like college rock. You know that. So that chorus from Riptide reminds me of like an American skater boy kind of lyric.
Yeah, like with that one, we if the lads hear this, we went into with the kind of idea of being like festival rock, or festival metal, something that gets people pumped and up and going.
It's a journey. That song is a journey. It's up and down, and
like you have to take influences from like pop tunes where they know how to write a catchy chorus.
Absolutely.
Even if it's metal, it's got to have some sort of catchy hook, and we're very adamant on that. And it's the same with the synth and the vocals.
I suppose that's the whole writing process. Now you have to think of these things. You have to think of your festival, think of the crowd, think of them singing back to you. Like there's so much involved. When you are recording the lyrics and such, who's have you much influence in the lyric writing, or
no? You wouldn't want a drummer anywhere near the lyrics. Right. The singer, Ronan, he's a phenomenal lyricist. He's the best lyricist I know, and it's such a privilege to be like in a band. Same with all the guys; they're all the best at what they do. And that's what I love about being in the band. It's like everybody is amazing at what to do, and when we can pull it all together,
everyone knows the station.
Yeah, and it's just like Shane and Ronan would be the main songwriters, and it's just like they'll start the initial ideas, and Shane will write drums and program drums, and he'll bring it to me, and we'll hash that out and we'll progress it a bit more. And he's always trying to challenge me, and like it's amazing having someone like Shane, because he knows how I think as a drummer now at this point, and he can send me a demo where it's just like, I don't know if I can play that sort of stuff, but then I get into it and I can, and I've progressed something, and then I'm like, well, what if we add this? And he's just like, that brings forward him, and that's kind of how we all approach it.
So it bounces off each other.
Yeah. So like when he gets a melody or a bit of a song going, the singer's already starting to write his hooks, and we do go through a lot of variations of songs, because it's worth spending the time to find the best bit for all the songs. So but yeah, by the time we all come together in the end, it's very pleasing. Everybody's great at what they do. So
that's cool. And then you went 2021. Then you played Bloodstock.
Yeah. So after the dreaded lockdowns and all that, we flew over to play Bloodstock, and it was so surreal, because at home you couldn't go anything but a few kilometers without it, and you're all masked up, and suddenly I walk into a field of like 30,000 people jumping up to Skindred, and it was just like in those year or two without music was horrible for everybody. I think that as a musician, you can do all the stuff at home.
It's not the same.
It's not. It's nothing like getting out with your pals and rocking out and
especially when COVID for me anyway, I found was a very creative time, which nearly drove me more demented to want that human connection with the musicians, that you're like, man, I have so many ideas. Like, I need to sit in a studio with someone. Or
and then when it was all over, I felt then, like, going into big crowds and stuff, you were kind of freaking out.
You were apprehensive,
It was very surreal walking into Bloodstock after all
that was like, a mind fuck altogether.
It took a while to get used to it, but the joy of seeing everybody going, especially on Skin Dread, was just playing as we walked in. It was, it was just like, oh, this is what we've been needing all along, And such an amazing way to get back into things. We by the time we got back home, things weren't still open and there was no gigs happening here, and we're like, but you could see there was hope for it was coming back. But
it must have been a great experience.
Amazing, I got to be in the backstage areas with some of my favorite musicians. I'm not one for going up to them too much. There was a couple of people I wish I did go up to. But it was amazing. The crew that run the stages, they're the nicest people in the world. Like, they want to make sure you have a good time, and for them to even ask us to play, like, we'd actually been asked to play the year before when the lockdown happened.
You couldn't,
and we thought, we're definitely going to get axed. We're a small band on the bill. Whenever it comes back, it's like we're not going to be a priority. And they still asked us back the next year and even upgraded our stage and stuff for us. And
that's nice.
It was amazing for us because we were just coming into. We recorded this during the lockdown, our album. And that was our first time getting to, like, we were like, oh, we have a big gig, we can release a song. So we released Den of Lions as the first single, and we went and played this, and it was just like, oh, the music life is back, the momentum was going, and that just set it all off again for us. We got a great run of shows from that, and it started our album cycle off the best way possible.
You played with Alien Weaponry as well from New Zealand. That was the year before, I think, was it?
That was 2019-ish.
2 years before,
before lockdown.
I could be wrong, I'm bad with dates, but
they're a great band.
They were phenomenal. It's so talented, and for they were in the middle of their equivalent of the Leaving Cert to be doing a tour around the world, and just seeing them explode after that. And they were lovely people too. Just some great guys out rocking that were mates, and the music was amazing.
They're making good strides now at the minute, like they're starting to.
Yeah, they're going to be a staple for, like, following a big band. They're going to be getting those slots. Like, as soon as they had that first single that got big, every festival had them. And then they had a European tour, American tour. It was amazing to see them taking off, and
supporting Gojira as well.
And it's
that was incredible.
Getting to do that. It was us Dead Label and Alien Weaponry that night.
That's sick.
So it was such a good night, and that was their Pyres album cycle at that time. So it was just like, that gig got us so many fans as well. Like, we still get people talking to us to this day about that show. A lot of people found us that night,
right?
Because I don't think we're the typical matchup for a band like that. We're very different, but at the same time, it went down perfect for us. And after that, then we got the support for Beartooth, came off the back of that pretty much.
Nice.
And that was another, our first time going into the Academy. We played some decent shows abroad with festivals and stuff, but getting the big shows at home is always a tough thing.
What was it like in the Academy?
The first time, scary. Because that's where I've been going since I was like 14, 15 to see all the bands I loved, That's where the metal bands came through.
Yes.
And it was very surreal to be the other side of the barrier and get your pass to go into the back, and first time going up on stage and sound check, and it's just like, oh, this is where a lot of people I idolize have been. For me that was huge, and like playing with Beartooth was it was big exposure to a lot of people that maybe didn't see us in Ireland that were metalheads or would like our type of music. So gigs like that did so much for us, and so that was the first time we played the Academy. And then we got asked back again for As I Lay Dying. Was it 2 years later or so? I can't remember.
2021.
Yeah. And that for me was one of the best feeling Irish gigs I've ever done, because like As I Lay Dying, when I was going to school as a teen, I was listening to that drummer killing it, playing double bass rhythms, the fast heavy riffs, and just the speed and energy of that stuff. And I remember seeing the poster for the gig, and it's like, what if I could play that show? You know, it's like I played the Academy already, and it's just like you getting close to, you know, the people you love and the musicians that inspired you. You know, so when I got to play that one, I was so ready for it. You know, I'd been on that stage, so I wasn't nervous. I knew
you got I know what you mean. You got the one out of the way that you were prepared.
So that time I got to go in and enjoy it, and it was a sold out show. It was their first time playing Ireland, and the room was packed for us, and the crowd, you know, there was so many people there that liked us and were cheering us on, and that one was surreal, you know.
That's a common story, actually.
Yeah, that's something we're starting to hear a lot of.
A lot of people that have,
you know, visions from an early age when you set your sights on something or you have that influence.
It's definitely been like 3 or 4 people already.
Yeah, have
100%
set that goal.
Yeah.
And they strive toward it, and they've made it happen.
I think visualizing what you want to do is so important. Like, you have to always work towards it, even if you're not going to get it. If you're working towards it and you're putting yourself on that route, it's like there is going to be a time where an opportunity comes up and you can say yes because you've been prepared, and you know. And it's all about, you need to see yourself doing that, and it does get you there. Obviously, hard work, practice, putting in the hours of playing little shows or you know, playing bad shows to nobody, or you know. But it is so much about visualizing. The amount of things I've, you know, when I left school, all I wanted to do was, you know, if that dream of being on a record label and doing a tour, and it happened straight away, and I was just like, well, you know, maybe this can happen, you know.
But it's just like you said, Jason, with all of those things, when preparation and opportunity are combined, people call it luck.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
And coming back to that, you visualizing those things as a teen, you saying listen to the drummer from As I Lay Dying with those double bass riffs, 14, 15, 16, heading into school, and then you find yourself in a studio living in Italy for a month recording a massive album, one of your first studio experiences for an absolutely huge album that you killed, by the way. It was incredible drumming on
Definitely.
It's crazy to think back on it.
Go and play with them, like, you know.
It's mad to think back because, you know, it feels like yesterday playing little local shows with your mates in pubs, and like we still play it. Like we're still playing some nice small local shows, and I love those as much as the big ones. But it's such all the hard work pays off eventually, you know, with those things. If when that happens, it's just like, okay, I haven't been grinding out on my drum kit for years for nothing, you know. It's just like, it does pay off, and I honestly see it as hard work. Anybody that's determined, has a vision for where they can go, they're going to get there if they keep putting in the time to it, you know.
Yeah.
If you have a goal and you're striving and you're working toward it, you're going to get there once you put in the right amount of effort.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit of luck involved, but definitely, like you said, you know, people see it as luck, but it is just preparation and timing, you know.
Once you're ready to absolutely kill it, and you took the opportunity with both hands and smashed it, man.
Yeah.
The newest album then, Cutthroat Culture, that is a fucking sick album.
Thank you.
Boy.
It is class, man. I swear to God, I've been listening to it all week. Like, I don't even know where to start. It's just... It's
the double bass rhythms for one.
Yeah. Like,
it's a heavy hitter.
It is. There's so many heavy hitters in that. Play the Calvary song, Calvary's Coming.
Calvary ain't coming.
Ain't coming.
Yeah, tongue twister.
Play God.
Yeah, Play God.
Play God's personally, but double bass wise, one of my favourites. The breakdown is just, it's such a, you know,
fast,
aggressive, fast rhythm, you know. I love that. I love that song.
It's a really damn good album. Really, really damn good. And if anyone hasn't heard it, check it out. You won't be disappointed.
Out a year now. This last few weeks out a year, which is crazy. Because we've been, since Bloodstock, we've been promoting it. Like, we had the album recorded during lockdown, and obviously when Bloodstock came up, we were like, we gotta come back to the scene with something new. And so we dropped a song from it, and now it's 2024, and we have a music video came out this year for it as well. Because the album, I think it's 10 singles, but put together in a very nice album, you know. We wanted every song to be strong. We don't believe in filler songs, you know. If we love albums, a lot of people have moved away from albums. Maybe it's a smart thing to do in some sense, but I think nowadays you have to utilize all the content you have. There's no point putting out 10 songs and not, it's like all those songs, if they're strong enough, they should be given the light and the time to show, because people will miss them if you just put out 1 or 2 singles. So we spent a long time trying to make sure this album came across right, that people could hear everything, because if you pick one song, it might maybe put you off what we are, but if you listen to the next song, it could be for you,
So we were saying earlier about the different styles, like you can definitely see it in that album as well.
It definitely, which song? Fire at Will, I think was the 3rd music video we did off it. And there's like trap elements in that, and that's something I've never had, in our song before. It's a real heavy, weird song, but then there's like a trappy verse with the hi-hat, fast rhythms, and then like the Cavalry Ain't Coming, it ends on like a real like anthem-y. I'm playing the snare and everybody's singing along. And,
definitely.
So but like I said, we've such mixed music taste that we like to appease all of our music tastes, but we want to make something that's kind of can appease a lot of people too.
Definitely, there's a lot of pieces to it, but it makes a pie. No, it's a really damn good album.
And it's a tasty pie at that.
Yeah.
And if you haven't heard it or you haven't got a piece of it yet, go get a taste.
Go get a piece of that pie.
Yeah,
damn
go
right.
get a piece of that pie.
I gotta say, we lucked out on the producer too. One of my favorite producers, Josh Schroeder. I'd be a huge fan of bands like King A10. For years I've been listening to them, and I always loved how the production was put together, because it's not just songs, it's almost like a theatrical experience.
Definitely, yeah.
The portraying the mood of the song with the production, you can really feel like you're in the songs. And with Josh, he was such an amazing guy to work with. Like, he got what we wanted to do, and the knowledge he was giving us with the songs, what's always best for the song. And that's something you learn the more you work with these amazing producers, just like always what's best for the song. And like, he's a drummer himself, so like everything he went through was with it like a fine-tooth comb. And because he would reference stuff, or like we were talking snare drums for days, I think what we had, he was the perfect person to knit it all together, make it make sense, because it was a bit different in places, and he made it all tie together production wise. So a big shout out to him,
shout out to Josh for a fabulous album sound. And that was something myself and Gavin talked about recently when we spoke about the album. The first thing you had mentioned to me was like, man, the fucking drums.
The drums, man.
Drum sound.
Huge.
The sound is just
it's explosive.
You can't get away without having a sick drum sound these days. There's two, I think for a good few years there was kind of a standard drum sound that a lot of bands had, and now you have to have that unique thing that sets you out, like the snare drum, like Sleep Token recently I've been listening to a lot. His snare tone and his cymbal tone's just that bit different to all the other drummers in the metal scene, and it stands out that bit more, the importance of like the sound of your snare,
like Saint Anger.
Yeah, like
love it or hate it. Love it or hate it. It's unique.
I love it. So that's I love that album so much. Yeah, like Metallica for me can do no wrong. But Saint Anger, that album came out.
There's something wrong with my speaker.
Oh man, I loved Saint Anger.
Yeah, I never noticed, this is coming from as a drummer, I never noticed the snare tone until people pointed it out to me, because like what year did that album come out?
2003.
Was it?
Yeah.
I was
I'm old.
I was a kid, and when you're a kid, like, this is a big thing about music. When you're a kid, you don't care about the production or the snare tone. You care about the songs.
Yeah.
And for me, I was listening to, Slipknot and Korn and System and all those bands, and I was a big Metallica head. But then when I heard Saint Anger from Metallica, I was like, there's, balls to the bloody guitar riffs and the lower tuning and the aggression.
I remember hearing Unnamed Feeling.
My favourite song off that album.
When it comes in, and like those cymbal catches.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to learn all of those grooves at the time, and then the theatrics and watching the music videos and seeing Lars just be really raw.
Yeah, it's what metal's all about, like real raw aggression.
Having watched those San Diego 92 shows, Seattle 89, the Cunning Stunts DVDs, like the S&M DVD. I think we all had those. We'd talk about those
on video, actually. Yeah.
And then to see the Saint Anger music videos,
the one in the prison was Saint Anger.
Saint Anger. I loved that breakdown, or not breakdown, the bit right before the verse.
Yeah.
Just where they let loose and go crazy and everyone's head banging and
Fast
going.
double bass.
Yeah,
I
just
love it.
vintage, like Lars just killing it. So
Yeah, that album for me was actually a standout album growing up. You know, it music's, you know, it doesn't have to be this. You know, we're just after talking about lovely production, but it doesn't just have to be amazing production. You've got to fucking feel it. You know, I don't know. You're gonna have to bleep me if I curse.
No.
You got
parental advisor.
I've lasted this long, but it's all about the feel. You know, if it's heavy metal or anything like that, it's, you know,
sometimes rawness is good.
It is, yeah. It's like, listen to early Slipknot. There's a reason why people say their early albums are the best.
Like,
it's
raw,
because it's real raw aggression. You're feeling those tunes. Same with Alien Weaponry. When you listen to those guys, that's real music coming out of real dudes. You know, Gojira. Listen to Mario on drums. That's not a robot. That's a real human being expressing himself.
He's close to a robot.
Yeah, man.
I don't even think a robot could keep up with Mario. To be honest,
he's just unbelievable. And when you talk about the rawness, Jason, like you mentioned Slipknot, you think of that intro track off Iowa. 515 was actually Sid. Was it? I think it was Sid, or it was
Sick.
No, it was,
that was
Sid, the member of the band.
Oh, sorry.
Having a mental breakdown in the vocal booth.
Was that what it was about?
He actually, that is a sample and chopped of him crying and like absolutely
wouldn't surprise me with
losing his shit.
Yeah, that was
because they said
crazy, man.
the album recordings of Iowa was a really dark time for all of them.
Yeah.
Personally,
yeah, definitely.
yeah,
That was in, yeah.
that was.
I read
2002, I think, or did it come out in 2002? It would have been 01,
I seen
02.
that album.
Yeah, around then.
I seen that album being toured.
Yeah, you were talking about that.
Yeah, I seen that in the
Fucking
RDS.
The RDS in 03.
And I was, I wasn't a big fan of them at the time. I was a huge Metallica fan, but I got to see them. Didn't realise it, but like they just walked past me, heading
Nuts.
up onto the stage through like Harris fencing.
Yeah.
And like there was people, oh Joey, and you know, I'm like, who the fuck is that? I'm like, oh shit, that's
It was
Slipknot.
like fucking Arkham
But then they
Asylum.
got on the stage and they blew my fucking mind.
I'm very jealous. I've never seen Joey live, and he'd honestly be my biggest idol. Like nobody drums with the kind of aggression, and I felt even the creativity that Joey had, especially from that era. Like
And the tightness.
yeah, like
You know,
you
how
watch
can-
some of those videos
precise.
live and just watch his feet, and it's just like nobody can play like that. You know,
That was the legit lineup I seen then.
Yeah,
Gray
because you
and-
would have seen Paul Gray,
Yeah,
you
was
would have
there,
seen
yeah.
Joey,
That was nuts. That, oh my god,
Jim Root, Mick
getting
Thompson.
flashbacks right now. Yeah,
Just Mick fucking hair and the
yeah,
mask. and
the
you're
big
like,
fucking black.
it's like the
makeup and
boogeyman.
Yeah.
Man's going to come and snatch your soul.
those demonic eyes looking
Yeah.
through that like
Yeah.
mask as well. Yeah,
But they were that day. Anyone remembers? I remember in the RDS like pegging kegs at each other, and like they were proper nuts then.
and like, but that's real music to me. You know, it's,
Yeah, we're talking about raw, and that's
Yeah.
raw. Like
Yeah.
that's power. That's just them bashing it out, man. But
yeah, but like
they
look at
made
the
a masterpiece out of it. Though.
and they made a movement, like, you know, the Slipknot movement is, you know, even to this day untouchable. There's nothing in that sort of the world like as big as that, you know, and it's because it was raw and real, you know. It wasn't just this pieced together perfect thing, you know. And I see that a lot with all sort of music. You got to approach it like that, you know.
For sure. And have you read Corey Taylor's first book?
No, something I should do.
Yeah, there's some really, really good stories in it. And maybe not the best example, but some of the problems that arise in life, you can definitely make good opportunities out of them. And when you talked about real and raw music, what Corey done with all of his experiences and bringing it into Slipknot, look what it brought to them.
Yeah. We were lucky to have Corey, like he had many times at the OD and stuff like that.
Man.
But
He wasn't the original member either, though. Wasn't he?
not at the very, very
Not
start.
at the very
Yeah, I
beginning.
remember reading that. Yeah.
But yeah, like that's such a big point. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Is like, you know, we obviously see this with all the big stars, but you know, when you're going to see your local favorite band that's up and coming live, it's just like that. You know, not maybe to that extreme, but their own extremes. Definitely, there's that stuff going on in the background, and that's maybe why they're playing music. And you know, that's why I think it's so important to be like supportive of people that are trying music or that they're artists and stuff, because
Therapy, man, for a lot of people.
for like that's the best thing about playing drums is, you know, it's not free therapy, but it's good therapy. You know, it's like
Music is therapy. I say it all the time. Like, even, you know, different songs, and you you almost be like, why do I like even metal lyrics? People like say people that aren't into metal music, they would say, oh, they're fucking crazy bastards. If you actually listen to the lyrics, man, there's a lot of deep shit in that a lot of people deal with.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
You know, just maybe they're singing it a different way, but if you break it down, like even like Kubla Khan, like Swan Song and stuff like that, if you actually listen to the lyrics and that, like it's meaningful, deep shit, like.
And it should be like I think it's your words have got to stand for something, you know.
I just feel sometimes people think that like metal music is just all rah 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 rah, like, you know, it's not.
Yeah, a lot of these guys mean what they say.
Absolutely, and that's where the rawness comes from inside them, because probably you went through a lot of shit or something, you know.
And then that helps everybody else out in turn, because somebody that is feeling that certain way starts to relate to that music.
100%. The amount of bands I've gone to see that, you know, it's been songs I've heard over the years, and you know, you're teary eyed standing watching them in the crowd because it's just like, you know, it either it connected with a part of your life or it helped you understand something about yourself, or, you know.
Definitely.
Exactly. When you say that, Jason, I had a funny enough experience of that when we went to see Iron Maiden.
Okay.
It was like, you know, getting teary-eyed listening to Revelations.
Okay.
Because that brings you back to a certain time, and you're like, oh, I can remember being in a certain place or at a certain moment listening to that song, especially when the clean bit comes in right before the big da-da-da in the chorus. It's like,
music's powerful, man. Like
it is, and that's why we do what we do, you know. It's like, you know, I think, you know, people, we need music, and musicians need to play it, you know. It's just like for everybody's sake, you know. We've so many talented, amazing artists kind of in this country, so it's like, and as a nation, Irish people, I find we're such an amazing creative nation, you know. So
definitely creative. We have to be one of the most creative.
100%.
Between poetry and music and, you know,
film. Even some of the actors that are in this country are just
go on, Killian.
Go on, Killian.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's crazy, like, you know, there's a lot of stuff you do because I love to play drums, I love to play metal, but at the same time it's like, even though you're not singing a song or playing a melody that, you know, maybe evokes emotion, you're playing with emotion and you're playing with energy, and that portrays, you know. And it's just like, when you're playing live at a show, you can see that connection between people, and that's one of the best things you'll ever get.
Once you get that bond with the crowd, then like it's just everyone's one. Like
you can't fake being genuine. You can't fake authenticity.
No.
And everything is raw, it's honest.
Yeah.
Like you said, this is me pouring my heart and soul into this music, and this is exactly what I want to play on this track.
But then when you see it back from the crowd, like, that's just full circle again. Like, it's...
Yeah, some of those moments are real special when you see somebody like air drumming along, or, you know, they're following the snare hits, or the, you know, and it's like, or singing the lyrics and stuff, and it's like, you know, even if you're not the biggest band in the world and somebody sings back your lyrics, it's unbelievable that you've connected with someone, you know. It's
got to be a fucking brilliant feeling.
Well, you've definitely got that headbanging groove going when you play some of those breakdown parts on the China. It's just like,
I love a good breakdown, you know. It's just, there's no better feeling in the world than seeing, you know, a big crowd of people just, you know, crushing down and you're getting to smash out your drums as heavy as you can. And
Jay Weinberg.
Jason Christy.
There we go. Jason, what was the first album you ever bought?
I haven't bought many albums because I had really cool brothers who were metalheads. So I can thank my brother Barry and Kyle for putting me onto the best music. The first albums I remember holding in my hand were, I think, Issues by Korn, a couple of the Korn albums. Slipknot's Subliminal Verses was definitely one of the first albums I remember being like in love with.
Yeah.
And then I had like a burnt, you know, mixed CD of Metallica's greatest hits.
Nice.
And that was just like my, you know, go-to every day. Going to school with your Walkman and putting on, you know, your 2 or 3 CDs that you've shoved in your pockets. So it would have been probably Metallica's kind of like Ride the Light Master Puppets era.
Oh man.
Then Slipknot, Iowa to Volume 3 era, and then like System of a Down was a big one, you know, Toxicity and like Steal This Album. You know,
man.
I remember being a kid looking through like, you know, the Slipknot, you know, the pages and the booklets and stuff like that, and seeing all the artwork and the masks, and
you know,
that was so cool. Like when you would rip asunder the album
Yeah.
and just go through it start to finish, and you would check the photographs, you would read the lyrics, or even read some of the
Where it was
credits.
recorded and all
Yeah,
that
where
stuff.
it was recorded, maybe some of the labels, who they were signed under,
Yeah.
what the whole thing
Especially
was.
with a band like Slipknot, you know, there was such an amazing mystique behind them. It's like they're almost not real, you know. It was like, or I couldn't believe it was real. Like even when I watch the videos, because they're in the masks and the get up, it's just like, can anybody really play like the way Joey was playing or anything like that? And that was mind blowing to me as a kid. You know, that's what set me off. I was a metalhead from word go, you know.
And I like that we both had a similar influence in being obsessive with the gear from our heroes.
Big time.
You know, like I'm loving Tam the Drums to this day, a la Lars Ulrich.
Yeah.
Influence, like Pearl being your thing for a long time, Peisty especially.
I was big on Pearl, yeah, because Joey obviously with the Pearl kit for so long, and it obviously I play Sonar kit now and a DW snare and stuff like that. It's become now what sounds best for what I'm playing, but yeah, in those days I was obsessed with, like, I just wanted to have Joey set up. Like I have the Joey snare at home. I would do anything. If there's anybody out there who has a signature Joey kit, give me one or sell me one. I would do anything to have a replica of his old kit.
I take
you know?
it Joey's your favourite drummer.
Yeah, definitely. He definitely had the most impact on me. Like, I never want to play like him, and I don't tend to try learn a lot of Slipknot songs, but the way he approaches it and the way he played for me is so inspiring. You know, it's
Full of energy.
Lars is a huge one. You know, there's no one bigger than life on stage than Lars. You know, playing drums. He's a front man in himself behind that drum kit. You know, and but. You know, my favourite drummer changes all the time, like Matt from Periphery, Matt Halpern. He's
killer drummer.
Kind of the last few years, he's been the big one for me. And, you know, there's just so many cool killer drummers that come out of the scene. Like before I came
Mario.
Yeah, like Gojira was, I suppose they're going so long, you know.
Yeah.
But I remember hearing The Art of Dying for the first time. And I was like,
man.
oh my God. Like weird polyrhythms and, you know, that Big Bell Ride he'd play on.
Mega Bell.
He has such an energy on the stage as well.
He does, yeah.
Talk about Lars being a front man. Like Mario was like a front man.
He is, yeah. And that's maybe key here. Same with Joey or any of them, or like Mike Portnoy or any of those guys. It's like they're big characters, and it's like that's inspired me a lot for drums, because I'm no front man. I'm not a guy to stand up and, you know, be a singer. I love playing guitar, but, you know, for me, I'm at home behind the drum kit. You know, it's a very powerful place to be, and especially when you see these guys like Joey. He wasn't a big dude, kind of like myself, you know, but he came across as this huge thing. You know,
man,
he was an
he's
unstoppable
such an
force.
aura about him.
Yeah, exactly. And
Remember he came out and was it Download Festival and played with Metallica?
He did when Lars was sick. Him and Dave Lombardo.
Yeah.
Dave Lombardo, yeah.
Like, drop of the hat, just bang, no problem.
They were like scoured